All right, thank you to everybody that's here in the audience today, and thank you for all you that joined us on Facebook Live. I'd like to welcome you to the special called meeting for Thursday, August 20th, and I would like to announce that we do have a quorum. And at this time, I'm going to ask Ms. Elaine to please come on up to the podium.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. The following information was communicated to Mr. Paul Tan in a letter dated July 16th, 2026. Written charges as follows. Number one, in your written comments opposing the zoning of the Chamberlain Road properties dated April 16th, 2026, you presented yourself as a member of and vice chair of the Planning Commission. This was a misrepresentation of your position, as you were not reelected to that position by your fellow commission members at the July 15th, 2026 meeting. Number two, your opening salutation indicates these written comments are addressed to the mayor and members of Grovetown City Council. Neither City Council, City Administration, or Planning Department staff received these comments until the packet was delivered to City Hall on May the 7th, 2026, more than 20 days from the date you authored the written comments. Number three, again, in the closing salutation in your written comments, it states, respectfully submitted member, Grovetown Planning Commission. The fact that you are an appointed official of the city left the impression you are attempting to sway council members in your official capacity. Number four, during the council meeting on May 11th, 2026, you again presented yourself as the vice chair of the Planning Commission. As such, you stated you wrote a dissenting opinion as not a private citizen, but leaving the impression that you are representing the Planning Commission. Number five, when an inquiry was made to the Director of Planning by a council member at the May 11th council meeting concerning the cul-de-sac width, the director clarified the misconception. You then broke meeting decorum with an outburst from the audience asserting that the Director of Planning was wrong in his analysis. This concludes the list of charges, written charges against Mr. Paul Tan.
All righty. Was there anything else that you wanted to say or anything else you wanted to bring forth?
Yes, sir. I have a recommendation that
Okay.
Mr. Tan be removed from his position with the Grovetown Planning Commission. That's my recommendation. That's all I have, Mayor
All
Pro
right.
Tem and council members. Thank you.
All righty, I guess at this time then I'm going to ask that, does Mr. Paul Tan, do you have anything you'd like to say, sir? Sure. All right.
Honorable Mayor Pro Tem and council members, I stand with a heavy heart before you because I never thought I would be able to have this conversation in defense of trying to justify my actions. And it took a lot of reconciling and reflection to understand what the implications of my actions were. Because at the time, the intention that I had was to represent the citizens of Grovetown. That day when we had the planning meeting, I'd never seen such a large turnout of so many people. And so it threw up antennas, and I said, wow, this is a signal that shows the city doesn't want it. And so following up, doing more research, thinking about it, I wrote that letter with the intent to share my opinion because I understand that oftentimes when the recommendation is shared, it's simply the Planning Commission recommends approval or the Planning Commission doesn't recommend approval. And so I thought it was prudent to explain my single dissenting opinion there because there were about 100 or so, 200 or so individuals who are also against the action. Well, of course, the council had decided to go continue with it, and so I said, well, my part is done. I will continue to comply with Grovetown City Ordinance. But it wasn't until afterwards receiving the letter saying, hey, what you have done was inappropriate, improper of a planning commission member, that I started to think, well, what was it that I had done? And I realized representation outside of your official capacity is severely frowned upon. I wish I had the foresight to think about that before submitting my opinions, because I thought to myself, once again, it was the intention to do the right thing. I thought, I don't know if the council would think about a nameless, just another member of Grovetown. If already there are so many people who are choosing against the action, could I possibly share information that I know demonstrating that I've put thought and effort in? And so I did as I did for the first 4 points to Ms. Matthews' statement of charges. I recognize that was wrong. I wish I had rethought about it. And then regarding the 5th point, I was passionate about what I was trying to do, and when our city planner, Mr. Jack Palmer, said what he said, I was under the wrong assumption that he was incorrect, and I wanted to make sure that the council members had the correct information. Whether or not I was right is beyond the point. The fact that I broke decorum with Robert's rule of order, that was incorrect. And so it took until the next meeting where I went up to Mr. Palmer and I formally apologized to him. I said, what I did was wrong. I asked that you could forgive me, and he said, it's okay. So to conclude my point, I think what I want to get after is my intention is to do the right thing, is to be ethical and moral. But with the oversight, if that doesn't align with how I'm supposed to perform in my official capacity, then I need to readjust and reconsider. I ask that the city council hold me until the end of my tenure, which is December this year, because I want to continue to serve the city of Grovetown. It is something I'm passionate about. It is the same passion I see seeing all of everyone here in this room, including all the workers. I want to put forth the best I can in whatever position I'm in, but for the mistakes I've made, I recognize and I will submit to your judgment and authority. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Tan, before you leave the microphone, if you will allow me,
No,
sir.
that's it.
Two things I wanted to clarify. First of all, you mentioned something about 200 people. What meeting was that?
Council Member Bowman, there wasn't a meeting. It was part of so I'll backtrack just a little bit. One of the points was, despite having written the dissenting opinion, it was only submitted 20 days afterwards. Well, I left it in the care of a private citizen, and they had attached a petition of signatures of, I can't remember the exact number, but I want to say about 180. And I had not talked to those individuals. I just knew that this petition existed. So I said, well, I'd like for my letter to go with that petition as a signal for what the citizens are talking about. Does that answer your question?
I'm still a little confused. You originally in your statements, you said there were 200 people there or something of that nature, or did I misunderstand you?
I believe you misunderstood me. What I was trying to get across was through understanding the circumstance, following the meeting of the Planning Commission meeting, I had talked to some of the people afterwards on both sides, and one of the comments that came up was there's a petition going around, and there's a lot of people on that petition, and so that's what I was referring to.
And also, if you would be kind enough to clarify for me, again, maybe I didn't hear you correctly, and if that's the case, then please correct me or correct my understanding. You said something about the fact that it is your intent to do the right thing, some things of that nature. And then you said that was all you wanted to do, was to do the right thing, but if council had some different feelings about it or something, then you would redirect the way you would move forward. I just want to be sure that you're clear that this council wants everybody who functions as a part of this council and a part of this city's administration to do the right thing and the appropriate thing. So if you don't need to shift your thinking, if that was your intent, then that was the right intent. And I just wanted to be sure that we clarify that it is absolutely the intent that we do the right thing and and take the appropriate actions for this city.
To speak to that point, when I said intent, the intention was to represent the citizens, the people of Grovetown. Because although I'm an appointed official, I'm not elected in any capacity, I still want to represent and stand for the people whom we serve. And so, seeing the turnout during that Planning Commission meeting, once again, I've been on the Planning Commission for over 2.5 years, around 2 years, I suppose. I said, wow, I've never seen such a turnout for any meeting before. There must be something going on underneath. And so the intent behind writing the letter, otherwise I never would have. I've got nothing to gain spending extra hours on my own time. I've got no benefit of it. But the intent was, if this is something that the citizens are expressing, I'd like to bring that attention to the council before the actual vote on passing the annexation and rezoning. You said a second point, which was the council wants all members to do the right thing. And I thought by going out of my way to express these things, I was doing the right thing. But there's a difference between doing with my, what I call intention, and following order, following what is the established rules of the city. That is something I believe I had violated without intending to. So therein, I was wrong, but not because I was trying to be a heel or trying to be a thorn to the city.
I'll leave it at that. I'm not.
Okay.
Yeah, I will leave it at that.
All right. So, you've concluded what you wanted to say. Is that correct? Your statement that you wanted to give, that's what you wanted. You're done with what you wanted to say?
I am done.
Okay. Yes, sir.
All right,
I was going to ask Mr. Jack Palmer. Do you have anything that you wanted to add to this? What? I wanted to. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I just have a quick question. Mr. Tan, have you had any issues? You've been on the council for 2.5 years. So have you had any past or any incidents like this before? Or is this the first incident?
So being on the Planning Commission has been a real learning experience. It's a growth opportunity to participate civically because I haven't had an opportunity to do something like this before, so it's been an honor. But I've had to learn through failure. There was one time somebody came in and I was expressing my thoughts on the stand, but I didn't realize that's not what I was supposed to do. And so at the time, the director of planning, Mr. Ronnie Kurtz, came up to me and addressed me about that afterwards. And since then, I realized, okay, this is something I cannot be doing. And so I'm here to learn, I'm here to grow. I'm not here to pretend like I know everything, because I certainly don't. I don't like this, the fact that I have to learn through the letter, through the pain, a lot of reflection, but it's a humbling experience. But I'm ready, I'm used to humbling experiences.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Well, I don't have any at this time, but that's, there may be some when we have our discussion, but I wanted, Mr. Jack Palmer, did you have anything you wanted to add or anything you wanted to say? You're the director.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. I would just like to add, at the April 16th Planning Commission meeting, there was a very large group of citizens here. And, you know, as protocol calls for, we ask everybody that attends the meeting to sign, to put their name on a sign-in sheet. After that was over with, I went through that list of the people who gave their name and addresses, and there was 30, not counting the planning commission members and any staff that were here. There were 30 citizens that had signed in, and out of that 30, only 2 were citizens of Grovetown. The 28 others were citizens of unincorporated Columbia County. That's all I have to add.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I'm not sure exactly which names that Mr. Palmer saw, but on that list that was in the packet that was delivered by the citizen, there was actually a signature on there, at least one. I certainly didn't investigate every signature, but there was at least one that didn't even live close in the area. Not only were they not residents of the city, but I saw one that lived, actually, if you went up Lewiston Road, lived on the other side of Columbia Road, going up Lewiston Road. So not even, you know, not only were they not in the city, but they weren't even in close by. And there may have been more, I don't know, but I'm not sure what value you saw or importance you saw in that. So that's the only reason why I raised this. But that's just in confirmation of what Mr. Palmer is saying, that, you know, not only were they not, you know, citizens, but they were far removed, if you will, from even, you know, being a part of the area.
All right, okay. So, well, after hearing from Ms. Elaine, our city administrator, and Mr. Jack Palmer, our director of planning and community development, and we've heard from Mr. Tan, now it's our point, or it's our turn to discuss amongst ourselves, or ask, again, if we have any additional questions, or just the discussion amongst ourselves about the situation and a way forward. So I'll open it up to, and I have some comments I want to say too. I'll open it up to, ma'am, if you have anything.
I'm just sitting here. You know, none of us are without fault, and learning and growing. Yeah, I'm just trying to read through this, and I'm just trying to think of, I know what could have impacted our city, but I'm just trying to see what is the impact that this incident, of this incident. So I think that's where I'm trying to see what happened. You know, was there any citizens calling in about this incident? What impact in our city happened through this incident? So I think that's kind of my, I know it's trust, and I know it's, you know, doing the right thing. I know, so I'm just trying to put the puzzle pieces together here. I know we have rules and guidelines and things that we go by. So have we had any negative impact from the city, our citizens, at this point with this happening?
Yeah, please do, ma'am.
This issue began when a company came forward for an annexation and a subsequent rezoning of the property. And Mr. Tan put out some information that he directed to the mayor and members of the city council on April the 6th, dated April 16th, 2026. This letter was never delivered to you all. It was given to a group of people who are not citizens of Grovetown. When the resident of the area outside, she lives outside the city, brought the packet to us with a petition, this letter was contained therein. So when I read through the packet, I realized that Mr. Tan had advised them through this letter dated April 16th of several things that were not in fact. So this letter was sent over to the planning director for clarification. And he in turn sent a clarification and the letter out to you all on a subsequent date. The matter of whether or not you all approved the annexation and rezoning, because the letter, I think, had been explained to you all that it was sent to someone else and not to you all voted to do the right thing. You accepted the annexation and you approved the rezoning request. It was read in 2 meetings, and now it is in fact the law because it's been approved. The problem with a planning member doing that after there has been a meeting of the commission and they voted to approve, to try to go back and undo their vote is not the right thing to do for the city. These people that came forward with the petition, out of approximately 30 names, 28 of them were verified as not being Grovetown citizens. So for us to allow an impact of a letter written, given information, most of which was incorrect, to people not living in the city to in turn use to try to stop an annexation and a rezoning is inappropriate. Mr. Palmer did go back and enumerated each statement and gave the correct information so that you all, when you voted, you would have the correct information. But this letter was composed, delivered to a group who was involved in adverse action, and the letter was never delivered to you all. I found it in a packet that was delivered by a person who lives outside the city. So that's the reason that this has come here at this time, if that answers your question, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I've heard Mr. Tan at the microphone saying that he realizes that he made some errors. I'm not, I have to wonder, Mr. Tan, how clear is it to you the role, that important role that you play as a member of the Planning Commission as it relates to acting on behalf of the city and also in providing information to the council that appointed you to represent the city? And one of the things, there are many things perhaps that are expected of members of that committee, but even though they may not know everything about everything, we at least anticipate that they will use good judgment and have the experience to know the type of judgment that would be appropriate. That doesn't mean that any of us don't make mistakes from time to time, but the enormity of those mistakes can be a significant detriment that means we perhaps are not in the right spot. I am, beyond all of the other things, one of the things that I am still curious about, and perhaps you can help clarify for me, one of the things I'm still curious about is how is it that you did not even realize your role in that, in the Planning Commission, the fact that you did not recognize that you were not the vice chair, and you're actually even holding out information about your own role that is incorrect. I know that you did make a response and indicated that you were not present at the meeting where the vote took place, that you had been, prior to that, you had been the vice chair. You mentioned you were not there, and you made and I believe your words, and if I'm misquoting you, please accept the fact that I'm not trying to quote you exactly, but you made a statement saying that it was your error then not to read the minutes of the meeting. I believe that's what you said. Well, sir, it seems to me that an individual, especially one that was serving as a chair, if they missed a meeting in which that particular subject that affected them directly was a part of that meeting, that whether or not you read the entire minutes, upon your return, you would at least inquire about what your ongoing role was going to be. And that's the kind of judgment that I think that we would expect to be a part of the members of that commission, that something like that, again, whether or not you read all the minutes, but knowing that that was going to take place and that you were already sitting in that position prior to that meeting, it seems to me that a person in that position would absolutely, when they came back, would want to reconfirm whether or not, because that would mean you would need to know what your role was going forward. And, to say, well, I didn't read the minutes, to me, I have to say, I wonder, do you understand the importance of your role as the vice chair? I mean, everyone's involvement is important, don't get me wrong, but as vice chair, for you not to confirm that that was in fact your role, and then you're out telling people that that is your role, whether or not you've had experience with working on a planning commission or not, it seems to me that that would be a priority for you to know and to understand.
Did you want me to say anything, or?
So you're very welcome, sir. Please come back to the microphone. I wouldn't want you to think that I could just get to talk to you and you don't get to talk to us.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to respond. I think the role of a vice chair is very important, and so I have to take it seriously. And if this is the bar that you're holding me at, I would recommend, please, maintain that bar for the rest of the council as well, rest of the commission, my bad. Because arriving at the commission, I noticed sometimes there's discrepancies with how things are done. For example, at one point, members may annex or rezone the wrong thing. They didn't even rezone according to what the packet is supposed to be, or forgetting how to vote properly, the Roberts Rule of Order, not abiding by that. And even hearing, well, I don't agree with this, but I'm going to vote for anyways, the council is going to make the decision anyways, my choice, my vote doesn't really matter. Experiencing some of these things on the Planning Commission, I feel surprised by it. I feel shocked by it. And I understand that you're saying if you hadn't read, even going back to the meeting in which the elections were held, you are not taking your role as seriously as it should be taken. Once again, please take a look at the remaining commission, because I feel like of the commission, I'm trying to do my best going in. Occasionally I'll stop by and talk with Mr. Palmer.
Mr. Tan, I am cutting you off, and I apologize, but it seems to me you're not addressing what I said. What you are doing is raising issues as it relates to other members. I'm not suggesting that perhaps you aren't correct. However, this meeting today is not to address that. That's not to suggest that maybe there aren't many reasons why there are other situations that need to be addressed. However, we're here today to address the situation as it relates to you. And the response that you are giving to my comment starts to talk about other people and other members of the commission, and I don't think that's helping me understand your situation any better or making it any clearer. If there are other flaws, then they need to be addressed, and as they come to our attention, I am sure we will. But that's not what we're here tonight to do. We're not here to discuss what all the flaws, if there are any, and I'm not taking one side or the other, but that's not why we're here. So I am cutting you off. If you feel like that you really need to say these things, if the chair will, agree to do that, then I will listen to you. But again, you're going down a different road from the reason why we're here.
I guess I was trying to say, I'm putting if the best foot forward that I put out is not enough, then I'll refrain from saying that. Specifically in regards to January, having not attended, I was training for work regarding my job in the military for cybersecurity. And because of the meetings that had come up, it had been multiple consecutive weeks before I had a chance to revisit anything in regards to matters within Grovetown. So there was a lapse of time, and as a result, things simply slipped through my head as work and life continued. For not revisiting or understanding the, not asking what is my role afterwards, I was under the impression that the vote was every 2 or 3 years. For whatever reason, I thought the year I was voted in, there would be another 2 years before the next one. I didn't know it was an annual thing, and so that's why I didn't think to go back and ask. Had I known, I absolutely would not have said, I am the vice chair. I'm surprised it took 6 months, roughly, before it was pointed out during that meeting that, no, you are no longer the vice chair. Those are my comments.
I want to caveat what Councilmember Bowman said. Set some expectation management, okay? You represent the city of Grovetown on the Planning Commission. You're not just Mr. Paul Tan. You are Planning Commissioner Paul Tan. You may not think that, but the citizens out there that you talk to, they don't see Mr. Paul Tan. They see Planning Commissioner Mr. Paul Tan. Just like when they see one of us up here, or they see Miss Matthews out there. She's not just Miss Elaine Matthews and the worship leader for her church. They see her as the city administrator of Grovetown. That's a title that we have, she has, you have, any one of us up here have. And we have to make a distinction. And we got to try hard, because sometimes it's not easy. That you got to remember, you have multiple hats, and people don't see me as Eric Blair. They don't see me as, just a regular Joe Blow citizen of Grovetown. They see me as the mayor pro tem. And I have to remember that when I respond to anything, or how I act in public, or what I say, because every word that any one of us in here says, anything that we do is highly scrutinized. Now, having said that, your letter caused some issues for us because there was a decision that was made from the Planning Commission. They recommended, now, they make recommendations. They don't make law. They don't make ordinances. They make recommendations to the council. And they recommended that we annex this property, okay? And then we find out that there's a letter out there with a bunch of information out there, okay? Do you know how we found out about the letter? I mean, obviously, Miss Matthews just told you about how we found out about it, but probably you didn't know that Richard and I spent a couple hours one evening with 8 of the residents debunking all the misinformation that they were given about what you had told them. And so a decision had been made, a recommendation had been made. You know, those of us here on council, I don't always agree with Ms. Simpkins. I don't always agree with Mr. Bowman. I don't always agree with Ms. Jackie. But when a decision's made, you know what? We move out and we draw fire, and we present a united front, okay? Because that's the decision that was made. Okay, obviously I didn't get the way I wanted, or she didn't get what she wanted, or he didn't get what he wanted. I chalk it up to you didn't present it in a favorable manner, or in a manner which everybody agreed to. And so we don't always get what you want. That's part of what this job is compromise, okay? And so we spent a lot of time out there debunking. And I don't know if you follow on social media, but I mean, I can't tell you how much traffic was out there. I'm sure our PIO can tell you. But I know there was a lot of flack that we were getting because of this letter and the misinformation out there that was written. And so, yeah, and it bothers me, and I'm surprised. 2.5 years, and as Mr. Bowman said, you got some seasoned people up here. You got a director that's pretty seasoned. You got a city administrator that's pretty seasoned. You have that you could have reached out to any one of us and asked a question and said, "Hey, what's going on?" You got a chair, Miss Candian, who's been around a while. You could have reached out to her and asked questions. That's what I'm highly disappointed in, is that you didn't reach out and you just took matters in your own hand. It was almost like you were trying to undermine what it was that the Planning Commission wanted to do and what this council wanted to do. 30 citizens, 2 of them I am looking out for the citizens of Grovetown. Yes, what we do here kind of affects the CSRA, but I owe my allegiance to the citizens of Grovetown. That means the folks that live in the city, the folks that can vote for me. Yeah, I hear what the other folks out there say, and I do take what they say and I consider it, but the people that elect every one of us up here, that's who we need to listen to. That's who we are in communication with, And so, that's just, and I thought, and correct me if I'm wrong, but when you and I walked out of that meeting, I thought, I felt pretty good about it. I thought we had answered all their questions. I thought everything was good. And then we get this letter, and I'm like, where the heck did this thing come from?
Yeah.
And it was like it started all over again. I was like, we've already addressed the fire truck turning around issue. We've already addressed how many houses are going to be. We've already addressed all that. Where did this come from? And to find out, it's bad enough. It's bad enough people are out there taking pop shots at us. That's fine. I got a tough skin. I get it. But when it's coming from the inside, man, I got to tell you what. I take exception to that. I really do. So.
I thought we had even explained to them and that they understood that the plan that they saw was a conceptual plan.
Yes, exactly.
It wasn't even a final approved plan.
Exactly.
It was a conceptual plan.
So, anybody have any final comments? Ms. Lane, any final comments? Mr. Palmer, any final comments? All right, well, there is a recommendation that has been brought forth by our city administrator that we remove Mr. Paul Tan from the Planning Commission, so it's on us now.
Are you seeking a motion? Is that what you're saying?
I'm seeking a motion whether we, there has been a recommendation that we remove him from the Planning Commission. So is there a a first and/or a second, or is there another motion that somebody'd like to make?
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I will make a motion for the removal of Mr. Tan from the City Planning Commission.
Okay, we have a first. Do we have a second?
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I second the motion.
All right, we have a first and a second. Is there any further discussion that we want to have regarding this issue? All right, then at this time, please cast your votes. All right. This board has unanimously voted to remove Mr. Paul Tan from the Planning Commission effective immediately. Okay. Well, with business being conducted, everything done, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I make a motion that we adjourn the meeting tonight.
All right. You second?
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I will second the motion
All right.
for an adjournment.
Cool. All right. Well, first and second, cast your votes. Yep. All right. Cool.